Hey, what's up, y'all? It's your girl A-Simone back at it again with another video. So you already know what it is. We are back again with another P-Valley recap, and we are on episode 6. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, guys. So this episode starts off hot and steamy. We have an opening sex scene between Big Bone and Diamond. So if you guys remember from last episode, Big Bone and Diamond, they ended up flirting with each other. They both were outside the club smoking, and yeah, they ended up flirting with each other. Diamond ends up leaving with Big Bone on her motorcycle. So we open up the scene, you know, hot and steamy with them hooking up. And Big Bone says to Diamond, she's like, "Oh, I'm tired of you coming." Oh, I gotta take that out. She says, "I'm tired of you ejaculating inside of the condom. You know I want that in my mouth." So Big Bone is not playing around. She's down with the get down when it comes to the bedroom. And Diamond pretty much tells her, you know, I ain't supposed to be, you know, spreading my seeds. You ain't supposed to be getting access to my seed. You know, that's not cool. We're not on that level. I'm not saying that he's not feeling her, but just saying, you know, that's a different type of level, giving you that access. So yeah, okay, so next we have Big Teak and Uncle Murda. They're out. So it seems like we're back in Chucalissa, and they're out in the parking lot just going crazy, just going dumb, you know, with all the people in the city. And Uncle Murda pulls up with a Dodge Charger, and he throws the keys to Big Teak. So he ends up buying Big Teak, you know, this brand new Dodge Charger. Now, y'all, this car was ugly as crap. They had this car wrapped in camouflage, red and green camouflage. So I guess they were just trying to, you know, do this as like, this is the type of stuff you see in the Deep South, these type of cars. But that car was ugly as crap. So the next thing we have Autumn. She's in the shower, taking a shower, because as we know, she's homeless. She doesn't have anywhere to go. Mercedes has put her out, so she's living in the club, but she really has no money to go anywhere. So Big L goes and cuts off the water, and she comes running out the shower, and she's like, "Yo, like, what are you doing? I just paid the water bill." And Big L says, "Well, you ain't been paying me." So we find out that you know, Autumn has been slacking on paying, you know, the help around, you know, the club. So when it comes to Autumn and Uncle Clifford, they're the owners of the club, so they get money off of everything that the girls make. So they get their money, their percentage off rip. Whereas somebody like Big L, he's getting paid, you know, minimum wage or whatever they're paying him. He gets paid per hour like a regular employee. So he doesn't get money off the top like Uncle Clifford and Autumn does. So he cuts off the water and said, you know, you ain't paid me. And he's still around there holding it down, because obviously you're not, you know, when you connected to people, you've known people for years, you're not just ready to, you know, up and walk away just because of one slip up, even though it is money not getting paid. But he's been holding down the bank for years. So obviously he's not just gonna walk away, you know, from one missed paycheck. And yeah, so Autumn has this really pretty dress and these heels, and they're like, "Why are you getting all dressed up for?" And she ends up going into the back room or whatever. I guess he ends up turning back on the shower water. And so Uncle Clifford and Big L are in the office talking, and they're pretty much saying like, "Yeah, we fed up with this girl. Like, can we just take her out? Meaning, can we get her up out of here?" And Big L's like, you know, just hold your horses, just calm down. I know you're frustrated, but let's not go talking, you know, crazy now. And then Uncle Clifford's like, well, why don't we just go to the police station and turn her in for the death of Montavious? And then Big L reminds Uncle Clifford's like, she didn't bury the body and she didn't pull the trigger. So all of us going to be in trouble for that murder, because it wasn't, even though it was on her behalf and this guy was coming after her, everybody else pretty much did the dirty work, or everybody else was involved in that murder. So we all going down for a body. So yeah, so the next thing we have is we have Little Murda and Big Teak getting a haircut. Well, Big Teak is getting his haircut. And they just pretty much ride around the city. As you guys know, the tour ended because of the situation with Rome. Keyshawn left, so the whole tour ended. So Keyshawn calls up Little Murder, and she's pretty much telling him, you know, Rome tried it with me. And he's like, what you talk about? And she was like, Rome tried it with me. And he's like, oh, word? Well, I'm glad he's dead. So Little Murder really didn't have a big reaction to the fact that Rome tried to attack Keyshawn, but I guess he was just in shock. And like I said, when the tour ended, the only people that knew, which was what I figured, the only people that knew was Wody and Keyshawn. They didn't tell Big Teak or Little Murder why the tour ended. They were just trying to keep it on the hush. Or I guess they were just trying to wait for the right time to say, like, yo, this man attacked her and we ended up taking him out. So Keyshawn ends up telling him, you know, Rome tried it with me while we were on the tour. And as soon as she tries, you know, I guess tell him the whole story, Derek walks in. So Derek walks in, she has to get off the phone or whatever. Okay, so the next thing we have Mercedes pulling up to Shell's house to bring some groceries for, you know, the house. So as you guys know, Shell is the grandmother of Tarika, who is, she's the mother of the baby father. So yeah, so Shell has been a mess. We found out that Shell has lost her job during the pandemic. Now Shell lives in a big house, like a big mansion. So I'm not sure what her job was. If she was like, I'm thinking like a manager at a bank where she made good money. Because whatever her job was, she got let go because of the pandemic. So I'm thinking it's not given doctor or lawyer. Because I feel like we would have knew that in the first season. So it's not that type of job where it's like, you know, you still have your job even during the pandemic. I'm thinking it's something like a bank manager or just like a good position where she makes good money. Because she lives in this big, literally, it looks like a mansion. The way the house looks on the show, it looks like a mansion. But she's been laid off. I guess she's been living off money she has in the bank or unemployment checks. And she's been out here getting wasted. She's been out here getting wasted, not watching after Tarika. Tarika's out here stealing the car to try to get food and groceries. And so Mercedes comes to the house with groceries, and the refrigerator is empty. All Mercedes sees is when she looks in the trash is wine bottles. So Shell is like really emotionally going through it without, she's not taking care of Tarika because she's emotionally struggling with the fact that she doesn't have any income. So yeah, so Mercedes ends up talking to Shell, and she's like, I can take Tarika off your hands. And she's like, don't think because you pushed her out. She's like, I'm the parent. I raised her. You just pushed her out your vagina. And she was like, I'm not trying to get custody of her. I'm not trying to get custody. I just want to, you know, help you guys out. And Shell is so stuck in her ways. She's like, nah, you're not getting Tarika. I don't care what you're talking about. You're not getting Tarika. So it's like she's still so stuck in her ways and so vengeful. It's just like, girl, you going through it. You're not even able to feed this girl because your refrigerator is empty. So why not let Mercedes take her off your hands? Like, Mercedes is a grown woman, even though she is a dancer, a stripper. And it seems like, you know, that's what Shell's holding up against her head. Like, you out here shaking, you know, your booty for cash. But it's like, Mercedes has a good head on her shoulder, even with her being a dancer. She's not stupid. She's not reckless. She's not irresponsible in any way, shape, or form. And it's like, you have this girl under your roof, this teenage girl, and you guys are struggling. So why not let Mercedes take her off your hands? So it seems like Shell is just really, you know, stuck in her ways and just really just holding this thing over her head as far as Mercedes having a baby by her son. And it's just like, she really needs to let it go. Like, you are struggling. You had no food, no nothing in your refrigerator. Like, let it go after all these years. Okay, so next thing we have Big Teak. So like I said, Big Teak and Little Murda, they're back in the city. They're just pretty much riding around in a new car, just chilling, you know, whatever. Just riding around the city. So they're at this place eating some lemon pepper wings. And Big Teak, he ends up asking about Uncle Clifford. And for me, I really love this scene. This was a really real scene of just being raw and real. So we find out that Big Teak was in prison for 10 years. And he was like, yeah, a lot of things have changed. So Little Murda, he did a bid too, but he didn't do a bid as long as Big Teak, obviously. So I'm thinking Little Murda only did maybe like 2 to 3 years or whatever. And like I said, we found out they end up hooking up and doing whatever, you know, on the down low in prison. So Big Teak, you know, comes to the realization, yeah, I'm out of prison. Yeah, we're back reunited. But things have changed. After 10 years, the world is a completely different place. If you haven't seen the world, the outside world in 10 years, that's a big difference. So Big Teak, you know, he's mature. He comes to the realization that, yeah, you've been out here with other, you know, guys on the DL. So he asks about Uncle Clifford, and Little Murda refers to Uncle Clifford as she. And Big Teak is like, she. He was like, yeah, I don't know. He likes to be referred to as a she. And in that moment, they both seem kind of confused. And I guess for Big Teak, it's like they're on the down low, but they're from the streets. Like, these guys are full-blown street guys. So it's like, even though they're like hiding this thing on the DL, it's like, I guess Big Teak is looking at it like, okay, if you mess around with dudes, you mess around with dudes just like us. Like, we street guys. But shout outs to Ray Shrummer, who said, I ain't got no type. So clearly, you know, Little Murda is attracted to who he's attracted to as far as, you know, the male gender, whether they're a thug or whether they're super flamboyant, like, you know, Uncle Clifford, who wears the wigs, the nails, and, you know, the full nine. So yeah, so I thought that was a real mature scene of Big T just keeping it real and saying like, okay, let me be real in the fact that it's been 10 years since we've seen each other. Of course, you're going to have connected with somebody else in 10 years. So that was a real mature and a dope scene to me. Okay, so the next scene we have is Derek leaves the house. He goes to help one of his homeboys with something in their backyard. I guess he's building something in the backyard for the house or whatever. So Keyshawn packs up the kids, packs up a few things, doesn't even try to pack her stuff, just packs up some stuff for the baby. And she runs out to the car. She tries to start the car and the car doesn't start. The car doesn't start. So she goes and she looks in the trunk, and I guess Derek had pulled the starter out of the car. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but the car wouldn't start at all. So I'm assuming it was the starter. So she literally just walks back in the house. And this is the first time we see Keyshawn try to leave. And she actually goes and gets a gun that she had hidden in one of the air vents. So she gets the gun. She tries to leave, and she sees that Derek has pulled the starter out the car. So this is the first instant of we see Keyshawn try to escape, and it's like, yes, girl. Yes, girl. Go ahead, get it. Leave this crazy mofo. But he's taking the starter out the car, so she can't go anywhere, you know. So she sadly walks back into the house. Okay, so the next thing we have is Big Teak and Little Murda. They're at the gas station, whatever. And Little Murda hears a song playing on the radio. And he walks over to the other car, and it's his song. So we have Little Murda really out here making moves with them playing his song on the city's, you know, the local radio station. So they're turning up, they're happy, they're excited at, you know, the gas station from hearing Little Murda's song. Okay, so the next thing we have is the guy that was the DSL guy. So you guys remember, in the previous episode, we have Roulette. She ended up going down on a guy in the boom boom room, which is against the rules. And then we find out that another one of his homies was trying to look for her. And then she ends up getting into a fight because, you know, the girl finds out. This guy, he's out on the floor asking the other dancers, like, yo, where that girl at with the DSL lips? Or the DSLs. And it's like, you completely blowing up the spot because they're not supposed to be doing this kind of activity in Uncle Clifford's club. So the girl calls out Roulette. They get the fight or whatever. So the guy comes back to the club. So now the guy approaches Roulette and he's like, what's up with Whisper, who is another new girl at the club. Now Whisper and Roulette are given two totally different situations. You have Whisper, she's Latina, she's light, she got the contacts in her eyes. And then we have Roulette, who is brown skin Is it very much, you know, black girl? I got the DSLs, you know, it is what it is. So we have two totally different dynamics between Roulette and Whisper. So now that the guy he's coming up and he's asking about Whisper, and Roulette is looking like, dang, like I thought you was into me. Which, I mean, maybe he just doesn't have a type either, but it's like he pretty much, he's trying to set up a play to now hook up with Whisper. And he was like, yeah, I would really like to taste that cat. And Roulette is like, dang, all you did was have me go down on you. And he was like, don't worry about that, shorty. Like, can you hook it up? You know you gonna be taken care of. So he's pretty much saying, if you hook up this play for me, you know I'm gonna look out for you financially. So Roulette is just annoyed by the whole situation, especially, like I said, the brown skin, light skin thing. I think that's really why she's annoyed. It's like, oh, you try to go down and you know, give oral sex to this girl, and all you made me do was go down on you. You won't try to do all that for me. So yeah, so this situation is like, it's messy. So Roulette has really opened up this can of worms. The fact that she did that, she has these men coming to the club looking for women, giving them sexual favors, which up until this point, that's never happened in Uncle Clifford's club. Like, the girls have always followed the rules in Uncle Clifford's club of not doing anything freaky deaky inside the club. So now that Roulette's come, she's causing a lot of drama, and it's going to be like a snowball effect. It's just going to keep adding up and adding up, with men coming to the club trying to get sexual favors when they've never done that before. Like, Uncle Clifford has never played that before. So yeah. So next thing we have Autumn. We found out that Autumn had her sexy dress because she's showing up to this black tie event. So Andre, who is now running for mayor, he hosts this black tie event, whatever. Yeah, so Autumn shows up, and yeah, so Autumn ends up asking a question about the black tie event, and she pretty much says like, how are the people supposed to have prosperity in the city? So she's pretty much trying to throw salt at Andre's game. And then Corbin comes up to her and, you know, he escorts her outside. Because Corbin and Andre, they trying to get this deal for this, for the casino to come to the city. So we got Autumn, she up in there throwing salt in the game, just being shady. And they're like, yo, you got to get the heck up out of here. You tripping. You know I'm trying to run for mayor. You know I'm trying to get this deal for the casino. Like, get your tail up out of here. Okay, so the next thing we have is the coach. The coach calls Mercedes back to the condo. So earlier, when Mercedes was leaving the house, she ends up getting a call from the coach. She was actually looking for Tarika, but Tarika wasn't there. Tarika was out with one of her friends when she dropped off the groceries. So she gets a call from the coach, and she was like, yeah, my wife was really excited about you. This is what the coach said. He was like, yeah, my wife was really excited about you. He was like, I've never seen her be that excited. It's like, we really want you to come back. So now Mercedes is back at the condo, and they're hooking up, they're doing their thing. So the coach, he ends up, I don't know if he ends up finishing or if he just pulls out on Mercedes. And when he steps back from Mercedes, you know, doing what they was doing, the wife goes in and starts pleasing Mercedes, and Mercedes is, you know, she's hollering and screaming all over the place. So the coach gets mad, y'all. This is a threesome. We have everybody doing their thing. The two girls start getting freaky deaky, and we have the man getting mad. So whenever I've heard men talk about threesomes, they always talking about like, oh yeah, the girls can sit back and do their thing. I'm gonna be over here, you know, doing my thing, watching. So in this situation, we have the coach getting mad. He's like, yo, what's going on? He was like, I know when two women messing around behind my back. So we actually find out that the wife didn't tell the coach about this. We found out that the wife was in fact sneaking behind his back, hooking up with Mercedes to get her own rocks off. So the coach is, guys, we were in a full-blown argument. Everybody's literally naked. Everybody's putting on their robes, and the coach is arguing about the wife getting freaky dicky with Mercedes. It's just like, bro, like, you throwing off the whole vibe. Like, you supposed to be sitting back and enjoying these women doing their thing. You're not supposed to be arguing in a threesome. So then the wife approaches the coach and she's like, yo, like, you so dumbfounded, you so blind, you didn't realize I like girls more than you. So we find out that the wife has been evidently messing around with girls the whole entire time. All these years she's been with the coach. Now, the way I thought it was I thought that Mercedes had kind of opened this gateway that the wife wasn't used to. So I felt like the wife was just so infatuated with Mercedes. She was like, okay, now I'm going to mess around with a girl. But we found out that the wife has been doing this for years. She's been doing this behind the coach's back all these years, messing around with women. Now, the wife, she's very poised. She's very intelligent. She carries herself a certain way. So obviously to the public, or the way she presents herself, she doesn't present herself as a bisexual woman. But we found out that she likes the lady bond more than it seems, you know, her husband does. And I actually called this out a couple reviews ago, that the wife pretty much put her ambitions on the back line for being with this successful man. And it's like, this is a narrative that we've heard a million times before, where women, they pretty much become housewives and they don't get to live out their dreams. So in this scene, everybody's arguing and the wife says that she was like, what about what I want? All I do is sit back and I get put on the back burner and I'm just your wife. That's it. So like I said, all these things kind of come to a head in, you know, a funny way, because all this is happening in the middle of them supposed to be having a good time in a threesome, and they up in there arguing. So yeah, so the coach pretty much drags Mercedes by her arms and kicks her out. So remember, Mercedes was doing this because she wasn't at the club. She was trying to recover from her arm being messed up, and then all of them had hired new girls at the club. So Mercedes, I think, was mad at that. So she kind of fell back from the club, and this was her side hustle. So now they up in there and got the arguing. Now Mercedes' side hustle, that deal is done. The money she was getting a month, I don't know, I think it was like $40K if I'm not mistaken. But she was getting $40K a month to come chill and do this thing with the coach. Now that's done. So it seems like she's going to have to officially go back to the club. And the club has been popping. The club has been lit because of these new girls, Roulette and Whisper. So I'm interested to see the dynamic of Mercedes, you know, coming back to the club after these girls have been holding it down. Okay, so the next thing we have Duffy and Roulette. So Roulette is outside smoking a blunt or whatever. And Duffy pulls up on her, or walks up on her in the car. And they pretty much tell each other that they're feeling each other. Like, I'm feeling you, and, you know, you feeling me, yada, yada, yada. So in that moment, Roulette pretty much tells Duffy, like, yo, I'm a hoe. Guys, when I tell you this was so daggone funny, Roulette ends up telling Duffy, yeah, I like you too, but I'm a hoe. And I appreciate the honesty, but dang, girl. So Duffy, he gets close to her. He was like, well, I'm a hoe too. So this works out perfectly. And he ended up kisses Roulette. So we see, you know, some progression with Duffy and Roulette really feeling each other. So I'm interested to see where this is going to go. Okay, so the next thing we have, Keyshawn is waiting for Derek to get home. She's sitting on the couch holding the gun, guys. So she's holding the gun. So when Derek walks up to the porch and he opens the door, she hides the gun behind the couch. So I knew when she was sitting there holding this gun, the way this whole scene was set up, I knew she wasn't gonna kill Derek. Like, the way it was set up, she was not ready to take Derek out. But you guys have to remember, in this situation, everybody knows what Keyshawn is going through. So if she were to pull out a gun and do that to Derek, she would get off. Like, everybody in the city knows that Keyshawn, she's getting her hands put on by this man. It's been happening for years. So all she would really have to do was pull the trigger, and she's going to get off with self-defense. Because everybody's going to come to her defense and say, yes, this man was beating on this woman for years. So if she did this, it was absolutely in self-defense. So that's really all she has to do, because everybody in the whole city knows what's going on. So she really could have taken care of the situation a long time ago. Okay, so like I said, guys, Big Teak and Little Murda are still riding around the city. So Big Teak pulls up to this spot, and Little Murda is on FaceTime with Wody. So Wody's like, yo, what y'all stopping for? And he was like, oh, Big Teak must just be getting some weed or whatever. So Wody tells Little Murda, when we go back on this tour, Big Teak gotta go. This nigga is wilding, this nigga's tripping, this nigga be having outbursts. Like, we ain't got time for that. We trying to get to this money. And this guy is acting crazy. Like, wilding out, ready to fight everybody, snapping out. So, Wody's on the phone, and he was like, yeah, you know, Rome is gone. Rome OD'd. So, Little Murda's like, how do you know that Rome OD'd? Because when Little Murda was looking up Rome's murder, like, just Googling it on the internet, he couldn't find any information about what happened to Rome. All they know is that he died. So Wody kind of slipped up in that moment and revealed some information that hadn't been revealed to the public yet. So little Wody, he tried to like change the subject, and he's like, oh, you know, well, anyway, back to Big Teak. If you don't want to get rid of Big Teak, I can get rid of Big Teak, because I know how to get rid of things. Pretty much referencing him getting Rome up out of there. So Little Murda is sitting in the car, and he looks at the dashboard because his phone dies. So on the FaceTime, his phone goes dead with Wody. So he's looking at the dashboard, and he sees the gun. So he ends up following Big Teak into the house to bring him the gun. So when Big Teak is walking through this house, he's having all these flashbacks, and he's hearing voices, and it's kind of like, what's going on? So then he sees like a little boy, which I think is his younger self. And then Little Murda taps him on his shoulder, and he snaps out of it. So he's hearing all these voices. He's having all these like memories walking through this house. So they go outside, and we find out that this is Big Teak's house that he grew up in. And Little Murda's like, okay, whatever, that's open, done with. This ain't your house anymore. So Little Murda is kind of being dismissive, not in a rude way, but he's kind of being dismissive, not realizing, you know, Big Teak's attachment or his emotions to this house. Okay, so the next thing we have Autumn. Like I said, remember Autumn had that sexy dress, and she shows up to this black tie event. So Andre is there speaking as black tie event because he's running for mayor. So he's trying to win everybody over mayor. So Autumn is outside because they kicked her out. Well, Corbin kicked her out. So this old white woman pulls up in a nice car, and Autumn rushes over to her. She's like, hey, how you doing? Yada, yada, yada. So they all end up going into the cigar room, which is, you know, like a separate room from, you know, the building. And we find out that this old white woman, she's some rich, wealthy white woman in the city. So Autumn is in there running plays on this white woman, because she's trying to give the $10 million for the pink. So the white guy, his name is Bill, he's in there. He was the guy that was in charge of the first auction. So remember in last season, Autumn ends up getting the pink because that guy Bill, he didn't want to pay over $250,000 for the pink. So that's how Autumn ends up becoming the owner of the pink. And so yeah, so this white woman, she's in there, she's talking crap, and she tells Andre, she was like, you shouldn't have listened to Bill in the first place. You should have just bidded the money, because, you know, we were going to pay the money either way. Like, you shouldn't have let the pink get away from you. So the white woman realizes who, because I don't know who exactly these people are. They're just old rich white people in the city who got money, who are pretty much making plays as far as what happens in the city. I don't know exactly who they are. So so the white woman finds out who Autumn is. She's like, yeah, I'm the owner of the pink. I'm the one who bought the pink for the $250,000. And she's like, oh, okay, so you're not just a regular schmegular girl. You up in here, you know, you up here trying to talk business. So yeah, so she tells the white woman, I want $10 million for it. And the white woman's like, oh, well, we might be able to work that out. Yeah, so Autumn's pretty much saying, I'm trying to get my money's worth. I'm trying to get what the pink is worthy of. And the white woman, she's all here for it. Because like I said, they're trying to get this casino. So the pink needs to get out of the way. They need to physically knock the pink down, meaning they need to tear the building down in order for this casino to get built. So that's what's the whole holdup in this situation. So when Autumn bought the pink, $250,000, she's trying to get her money back plus the interest, Like she spent $250,000 because she had nowhere to go as far as in the city. She had nowhere to go, and she's making good money or decent money being a dancer. So when she bid for the pink, it's just like this was her place of work where she was making good money, and she wasn't ready to let it go. So when Autumn keeps bringing up this $10 million, she's trying to get her money back, the $250,000 back, plus, you know, some money on the back end. Because with $10 million, baby, I can chunk the deuces. I can go to LA, I can go to New York, I can go to Chicago, I can go anywhere I want to with $10 million. So Autumn is really trying to run these plays to get the money for the pink. She says, because in her mind, she's like, they want the pink knocked down so they can build this casino. So it's like these people got money, these big businesses, these big corporations, they got money, and they gonna get their money back with the profit and with the circulation of the economy from this casino. So yeah, so Autumn was in there running plays. This other rich white woman, I don't know who she is, but she got a lot more balls than Bill, who let the deal go in the first place. So the white woman leaves, and she's like, oh, I'm gonna be in touch with you. So it seems like Autumn is really running these plays. Autumn is really running these plays to get this $10 million and get the heck up out of Chuckalisa. Okay, so the next thing we see is Andre. He's home from the auction, and we find out that he gets an endorsement. Not the auction. He's home from the black tie event. We find out that he actually gets an endorsement for you know, what they're trying to do with this whole casino situation. So they get this big endorsement to try to, I guess, get this deal going through. And I guess for him running for mayor, the money that he needs to run for mayor. So Autumn, she's sitting in the cut, and he's on the phone with Corbin, and he ends up hanging up the call with Corbin. So Andre's pretty much telling Autumn, like, yo, like, I'm trying to run for mayor, I'm trying to get these plays done. You can't be showing up at these events throwing salt in my game. So y'all, Autumn ends up stripping down to the nitty gritty. She ends up stripping down to her underwear. She had on this red dress, and she had on the red underwear. She ends up getting down on her knees, crawling up to Andre, saying, oh, you the man in charge, so what do you want next? So guys, Andre was acting scared of the cat. Like, this mother effer was shaking. He had sweat beads coming on his forehead. And it's like, bruh, why are you scared at a woman throwing you the cat? But it seems like Andre, he doesn't want to get attached to Autumn. He's attracted to her. Now his relationship with his wife is done. Because like I said, this whole entire time he was a married man. I don't think we even realized. Or maybe in season 1 they did say that. Or they did indicate that. I can't remember. But in season 2, we officially find out that he is a married man. So that also could have been obviously him trying to hold back and be a decent guy, which he was still, you know, messing around and trying to link up with Autumn even in season 1. So you weren't being a good guy. But yeah, so like I said, Andre, he got sweat beads coming down his face, and Autumn, she trying to throw him the cat. But I think, like I said, you know, Andre is looking at Autumn like, this woman, she goes after what she wants. She goes after what she wants. She doesn't play around. And it's like, he's scared of her. He's scared of what she's capable of. And he doesn't want to get attached to her. He doesn't want to get emotionally attached to her. It's like, this girl, you know, she's really a bad girl. She does what she needs to do, even if it's grimy, to get what she wants. So he sees Autumn for who she is, that she's grimy. And she's a go-getter, even if it means, you know, doing some dirty stuff. So in his mind, he's like, he's trying to detach himself as much as he can from Autumn. So it makes sense. He's really trying not to get emotionally attached to Autumn because he knows this girl is going to end up, you know, hurting him and breaking his heart. Okay, so next we have Big Teak and Little Murda. They're sitting down by the river. They're parked. They parked the car. They're sitting on the riverbank. They've been chilling and riding around all day, just chilling in the city. So, guys, this scene, we get an insight to Big Teak's psychology. I can't say the word. We get an insight to Big Teak's mind. So, they're talking, they're having a conversation. He was like, yeah, you know, when I was in the hole, that really messed me up. And Little Murda's like, well, you out the hole now. Everything's good. We ready to go get this money on this tour. So then we find out that Big Teak reveals his childhood trauma. So Big Teak says, you know, these teardrops I got on my face isn't because of the streets. If you guys aren't familiar with teardrops in the hood or street culture, when a person has teardrops on their face, that means they've caught bodies, meaning they've taken people out in the streets. So whenever you see a person with teardrops and they're walking around the hood or they're in that hood street culture, it's like, oh, this person is for real because they've taken people out. They've taken people's lives in the street. So they not want to mess with. They really about this life. So Big Teak reveals that the teardrops on his face isn't about the streets. It's about his family. So Big Teak reveals that his mama when he was younger killed his 3 siblings. He ran and hid in the closet. So when he was walking through that house, all that trauma, all those memories were hitting him when he was in that house. And yeah, so like I said, guys, I called out Big Teak before saying that he is institutionalized, meaning he's been locked up in prison and he's used to prison and the structure of prison, and he's having to adjust to the real world. So I thought that that's all it was, but now we find out that we have actual childhood trauma on top of him being in prison for 10 years. So we have all this trauma stacked on top of trauma. His mama ended up having mental issues, some kind of mental breakdown, where she killed his 3 other siblings. He ran in the closet to hide. So he was a survivor from that. So he probably has survivor's remorse, meaning when you survive a situation and other people don't. And it was his brothers and sisters, and his mama killed his brothers and sisters because she had a mental breakdown. So they ended up having that conversation. They ended up getting in the car. They were just sitting on the hood of the car looking at the river, talking. They get in the car, and Big Teak pretty much says, yo, I'm tired. Well, he tells Uncle Murda, I'm gonna take you home. And Uncle Murda's like, nah, you got a lot on your heart right now. I'm not gonna leave you all night alone. So he was like, yo, I'm taking you home. And he picks up the gun and puts the gun to his head, guys. So Little Murda is sitting in the passenger seat, sitting there looking at him like, yo, like, bro, like, what are you doing? And Big Teak pretty much says, I'm tired. So guys, this is a display. I feel like this is a great display of mental illness. Because in this situation, we have Big Teak. This guy's from the hood. You know, he's a hood guy, went to jail. You know, just a stereotypical hood guy. And we have him going through severe mental illness. And I thought this was a great display. I'm actually mad that they did not kind of extend the story of Big Teak. I feel like they kind of crunched his story into season 2. And when it comes to a show, guys, we have characters that come and go all the time when it comes to a show. So I get it that Big Teak wasn't going to be a long-term character, but I'm mad how they crunched this mental illness in here. I wish they would have just, you know, gave us a little bit more throughout the show, you know, showcasing mental illness. So yeah, I just wish they would have gave us a little bit more as far as the episodes of Big Teak and his struggle. So Big Teak is sitting in the car, he's talking, he's telling Little Murda, I'm tired of it all, I can't deal with it. Little Murda's like, nah, you got me. You got me. We really go ahead and make money, we really buy houses, we really live the life. And yeah, in that moment, Little Murda, you know, it seems like he didn't try enough. He was just sitting there. It seems like Little Murda was just in shock. Because for me, if somebody I know picks up a gun, puts it to the head, I'm physically reaching for that gun to try to pull that gun down from their head. Little Murda was just kind of sitting there looking, and he was crying, he was emotional. So it seems like Little Murda didn't really do all that he could do because he was in shock. And the next thing you know, a gunshot goes off. They don't actually show it. They don't actually show it. They just show the car. You just hear a gunshot going off. And you see the car parked. And then Little Murda gets out the car. He has blood all over his white jogging suit. And yeah, Big Teak, you know, he ends up taking himself out with the struggles of mental illness. And I thought that this was like really great. I wish they just would have expounded it a little bit more. I hate that they had to crunch it into just a couple episodes. But that was a great display of the narrative of mental illness. You have Big Teak, the street guy. Then he goes to prison. He has his siblings killed by his mom. So it was just, you know, trauma on top of trauma. Yeah, I thought it was great. I'm only mad that they didn't extend it a little bit more, but I know what they were trying to do. They were just trying to give you the narrative of mental illness. So Big T's character came and it went. So we're only on season 2. They already got renewed for another season. So hopefully they bring up this mental illness narrative again. Like I said, we have, you know, however many seasons left of this show. So hopefully they do bring up the mental illness thing again, because I thought they did a great job with this. So yeah, so the next thing we have, Mercedes is back home and she gets a knock on the door and it's Tarika. So Tarika breaks down crying and she pulls out a pregnancy test. So it seems like Tarika is pregnant. So guys, this season they're really playing into a lot of narratives. So the first narrative they played into was men being in DL on the prison with Big Teak and Little Murda. And then now in this narrative, we find out that Tarika is pregnant. And Mercedes was a teen mom. So now we see Tarika falling into the footsteps of being a teen mom. So it seems like they're playing into a lot of narratives. I wish they would have went a different route when it came to the writing. I wish they didn't play into so many like obvious narratives or narratives that you know have been around so long. I just wish they would have taken a different route, but I get it. I still love the show. I love the writing of the show. I just wish they didn't play into so many, you know, cliche narratives. I wish they didn't go so cliche. So yeah, so we have Tarika crying, and then the next scene we have Little Murda coming to knock on Uncle Clifford's door, and he's all bloody, he's crying, and he tells Uncle Clifford, "I'm not okay." Now this scene really pissed me off, guys. This is the last scene of the episode. This pissed me off because it's like, ever since Murder Night, which was with Keyshawn and Little Murda, where he premiered his song, or he performed his song, he hasn't been paying any attention to Uncle Clifford at all. He's been dodging Uncle Clifford. He's been out here trying, you know, to become this rap superstar and really make it out the hood. But he pretty much pushed Uncle Clifford to the wayside. So yeah, so now when he was on tour, he was sending Uncle Clifford, you know, little postcards, whatever. But the communication from Murder Night until now, it has really been slim to none. He really pushed Uncle Clifford to the wayside. It's like, we know Little Murda's on the DL, and we know his rap career is trying to take off, but it's like, at the end of the day, you know you have this connection to Uncle Clifford. So don't sit here and do somebody dirty and then show up on their doorstep. Now, what happened was dramatic. He saw Big Teak kill himself in front of him. But don't come crying to somebody that was trying to be there for you and you push them to the wayside. It's like, that's not right. So I am kind of mad at that Little Murda's come crawling back to Uncle Clifford when he's really going through it. When it's like, Uncle Clifford was trying to be there for you the whole time. You push him to the wayside. But yeah, guys, that is my recap and breakdown of this episode. A lot to unpack. Like, for the rest of this season, it's a lot to unpack with what's going on. Yeah. But that is it. Follow me on all my social medias. Subscribe to my channel. Like this video. Give it a thumbs up. That really helps me out. Leave any comments, concerns down below. Anything that you disagree with me with, that I might have missed, that I might have got wrong.